Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon. My name is Selena Teixeira, and here's your latest headlines for the afternoon. Businesses across British Columbia that may have a potential link to the ostrich farm in Edgewood have been flooded with calls threatening them about their alleged involvement with the ostrich cull. Spokesperson for the farm, Katie Pasitny, has claimed that one of the businesses being targeted, Nucor Environmental Solutions, will be involved in the cull, though the business has said they were not involved at all. The Transportation Safety Board is beginning an investigation after a crash involving a small plane in Lillooet, BC, happened near its airport. The board says in a statement that they were notified on Wednesday at around 6 p.m. The statement says the crash involved a privately registered Bushmaster Super 22 aircraft, but did not provide any additional details. BC Emergency Health Services said in an email response that paramedics were called to the scene near the 800 block of Whitney Road, located at the north end of the airport's runway at 5:11 p.m. It says 3 ground ambulances and a medical helicopter responded, but no patients were taken to the hospital. It's unclear if anyone was injured or killed in the incident, and RCMP did not immediately respond to the request for more information. For the upcoming Truth and Reconciliation Day, the Manova Museum and Archives in North Vancouver is hosting an event to promote Indigenous education on this day. Our reporter Braden Coombs explains that the approach that they're taking.
For the 4th straight year, the Manova Archives and Museum is providing a space for families and people of all ages to educate themselves on Indigenous history. Through storytelling and hands-on activities, the event fosters engagement for everyone. Jordan Dawson, an Indigenous cultural programmer for Manova, says they collaborate with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to ensure their event aligns with what they want.
And so any way that we can kind of touch on what Truth and Reconciliation is and honor the day and bring awareness to it is just a really good step forward in our hearts.
The event is taking place on Truth and Reconciliation Day, September 30th, from 11 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Braden Coombs, BCIT News.
With John Rudstadt's return as the leader of the Conservative Party of BC, Rudstadt told the Supreme Court that Indigenous rights and private property rights cannot coexist, and he wants the Supreme Court of Canada to resolve this conflict as soon as possible. His comments came after a BC Supreme Court judge determined that the Cowichan tribes have the right to 7.5 square kilometers of land in Richmond, ruling that land title granted by the government included private property were invalid. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew says costs associated with this year's wildfire season amount to roughly $180 million, with some invoices still to come. That dollar figure is more than triple what the province sets aside in its annual budget for all emergencies, but Kinew says the cost is not an issue.
The reality is when there's an emergency, no cost is a barrier to responding to people who are in need, and this was one of the worst wildfire seasons, which means that we have one of the biggest needs ever.
An international student from India turned drug trafficker when he couldn't afford his school fees in Saskatoon has been sentenced to nearly a decade behind bars. Jatinder Pal Singh was arrested last year following about a month of police surveillance. Police said they found methamphetamines and fentanyl on Singh in a hotel room, along with cocaine and a large sum of cash. Singh pleaded guilty to charges including trafficking and possession of the proceeds of crime. Searchers in southern Alberta are hoping a familiar song will draw a 6-year-old boy out of the woods after he vanished from a campground on Sunday. Adam Kennedy from Alberta Search and Rescue says crews are employing several tactics in looking for Darius MacDougall, who is autistic. They include avoiding loud noises and bright lights at night. Kennedy says one method they hope will work involves playing one of the boy's favorite songs, but officials won't say what tune it is. RCMP have said Darius didn't return from a walk with several young family members to their campsite in the Crow's Nest Pass area of the Rocky Mountains. Now on to international news. U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order that will allow TikTok to continue operating in the U.S. in a way that meets national security concerns laid out by the law. Trump says the app will be spun off into a new U.S. joint venture owned by a consortium of American investors.
You know, it's run by American investors and American companies, great ones, great investors, the biggest. You don't get bigger, I don't imagine.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has summoned hundreds of generals and admirals to base in Northern Virginia for a sudden meeting next week. The directive doesn't offer a reason for the gathering next Tuesday of senior commanders and one-star rank or higher and their top advisors. Confirmation comes from 3 people familiar with the matter, who weren't authorized to publicly discuss the sensitive plans and spoke on condition of anonymity. The Pentagon's top spokesperson confirms that Hegseth will be addressing his senior military leaders early next week. Vice President J.D. Vance argued that the media had turned it into a big story. Broadview, Illinois' Mayor Katrina Thompson said that the ICE has not communicated well with the state and local officials about developments with the processing center, including the choice to deploy tear gas on demonstrators outside the facility last Friday.
They're not communicating effectively with our state officials or local officials or our county officials. And so we get limited information, but we always going to take an approach of, like, how can we protect people? And that includes all of the demonstrators that's coming to demonstrate. They have a voice, and their voices should be heard.
In entertainment, Mariah Carey is releasing her 16th studio album, Here for It All, tomorrow, marking a new chapter in her career. This 11-track album showcases Carey's evolution as an artist and blends soulful records, R&B, ballads, and pop. It includes chart-topping singles like Type Dangerous and Sugar Sweet. Collaborations with artists like Kalani, Sensia, the Clark Sisters, and Anderson .Paak add to the album's appeal. Carey describes this as, quote, the era of me, emphasizing her personal growth and connection with fans. Here's a clip of Carey performing Type Dangerous.
I like 'em dangerous. Looking for the dangerous type. I like 'em dangerous. I'm looking for the dangerous type. I said I like 'em was just a castle and an evil king. Made my escape, yes I had to flee. Now it's sex in the city and a couple little flings. Motorcycle man had a yen for me. Like to rush through the tunnel at a breakneck speed. Computer boy thought he was fun for a while, till I caught him on the web hacking other girls' files. You know the guy say he worked construction, turns out he was moving them out to custom. They wanna settle down.
Apologies for the long clip. In sports news, New York Jets quarterback Justin Fields remains in concussion protocol but is progressing towards a possible return for the game against Miami on Monday night. Coach Aaron Glenn said Thursday that Fields will be the starter if he clears concussion protocol. Fields was listed as a full participant as he practiced for the first time since suffering a concussion in the Jets' loss to Buffalo in Week 2. He will have 2 more full practices on Friday and Saturday to determine if he'll be ready to play against the Dolphins. Tyrod Taylor started in Fields' place last Sunday, throwing 2 touchdown passes and a pick 6. The Women's Rugby World Cup is down to 2 teams, with number 1 England facing number 2 Canada in Saturday's final at Twickenham Allianz Stadium. Star forward Sophie De Goody says she was having fun playing Canada's expansive, fast-paced brand of rugby.
We make mistakes in the way that we play because it's not pre-planned. We're constantly reacting to each other, and so mistakes happen. But there's also a really good ability in this team to let mistakes slide off of us and to think about the next player, the next phase. And often we can create magic off the back of a mistake.
European soccer body UEFA is moving forward to vote is moving toward a vote to suspend its member federation Israel over the war in Gaza. People familiar with the proposal told the Associated Press on Thursday. A majority of the UEFA's 20-member executive committee is expected to support any vote in favor of suspending Israeli teams from international play. Two sources told the Associated Press on condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the subject. The move comes 2 weeks before Israel's men team is due to resume its 2026 World Cup qualifying group with games in Norway and Italy. Fans showed their hope in the Toronto Blue Jays game by securing a spot in the American League Division Series when playoff tickets went on sale on Thursday. All 3 potential home games of the Als sold out, with games 1 and 2 selling out within 30 minutes of single-game tickets being made available on Ticketmaster. Game 3 sold out in under 90 minutes. Though it may have been hard for fans to grab tickets, the crowd was able to catch the Boston Red Sox crushing the Toronto Blue Jays 7-1 at Rogers Center last night. At the same time, the New York Yankees beat the Chicago White Sox 8-1 to move into a first-place tie with Toronto in the American League East Division. Both teams have clinched playoff spots, but the Blue Jays hold the tiebreaker if the teams have the same record at the end of the regular season on Sunday. Blue Jays manager John Schneider says his team is still in a good spot despite dropping 6 of their last 7 games.
Season ended right now. We're in the division. I know things look bleak and it's been a rough week for us, but there's going to be a game tomorrow. So we got to figure out ways to score. It's been tough to come by lately, and again, you got to turn the page to tomorrow.
Donald Trump is set to make history as the first sitting president to attend the Ryder Cup. Correspondent Gethin Kulbaugh reports. The weather today will be cloudy and overcast, and start prepping your umbrellas for a 60% chance of showers tonight. That was the latest headlines for the afternoon and my final cast. I'm your host, Selena Teixeira, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
I would recommend this program for anyone that isn't sure what kind of job they want in media, because you learn everything from public relations to communications to video editing, radio, TV. So you do get a lot of experience in all the different fields in media.